Good evening. Today is Monday, November 28th, 2022. This is the regular board meeting for the Romulus Community Schools. This is an in-person public participation. The meeting is also going to be YouTube live stream. The link is posted on the district website. Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Bergeron,
Present.
Terrell,
Present.
Evans,
Present.
Piles present, German, Kennard,
Excused.
Wester.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sorry, it was called to order at 6:08. The acceptance of the agenda. Move that the Board of Education accept the meeting agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved by Wester, supported by Terrell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Next on the agenda is public comment.
Rita Hampton. I don't have any others.
Consent agenda. Matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any board member or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Education, November 14th, 2022, regular meeting, November 14th, 2022, closed session. B, approval of the bills for payment as submitted by Business Manager Sarah Kahn in the amount of $1,091,894.33. And C, approval of the personnel actions as submitted by Human Resource Director Dan Scott. Resignation, Samuel Bonham, Network Specialist from Romulus Middle School, effective November 30th, 2022. And Heidi Daughtry, Teacher of Romulus Middle School, effective 11/25. Move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Supported by Wester. Motion by Wester, supported by Terrell. Any discussion?
I have some questions regarding the payables. So I would like to accept the agenda as amended for the consent agenda as amended to discuss the payables.
Support. So it was motioned by, excuse me, Ms. Evans to amend the agenda to remove the accounts payable for payment and for discussion at a later time under superintendent, and that was supported by myself.
Correct.
May I have a vote, please?
Bergeron,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Wester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We're at the report of the interim superintendent. Our first item would be your questions about the bills for payment.
So I have some questions regarding, I see several items that are on here that are payables to individuals, and it's miscellaneous supplies, personal, it looks like personal, but I'm just wondering why we're reimbursing rather than cutting purchase orders, and there's numerous of these on here. There's also numerous payables on here for Perkins Conference.
Which page? Looking at,
I would like to, let's see, $45 is $59 for, on page 1 of 7. $59, page 1 of 7. $45, page 2. So I would like to know why we're paying personal expenses when we have gone to purchase orders. And I understand that when we're out and about, it just seems like there's an excessive amount on this check run. And then I see several,
Which ones are you talking about in particular? I'm not.
okay,
go back to page 1.
page 1, check number 228405,
Okay.
228407,
Okay.
228416. Then on the next page, 228419. And 228421. And those are the ones, okay.
Well, let me give, I will have to check with, principals, or everybody.
Okay. And then I also see numerous purchase orders for Perkins fiscal year '23 conference. I would like to have some input on what that is and why we are sending several people to the same conference. Specifically, let me look for that one check number. Specifically, check number, it's on page 2 of the payables, 228423. I'm surprised to see this person is going for Perkins when they're a meta coordinator. She is? I don't know. I don't know.
Was it any other?
The MEMSPA, under 228428.
What page is that?
That's page 2.
Sorry.
The MIPSPA is in, the MIPSPA is, the, conference of the, sorry. The MIPSPA is the conference that the, middle school, the Michigan Elementary and Middle School Principals Association that they attend in December. The association dues are in title.
Okay,
And
so those are the
so
dues.
these are accounted for. This is done every year.
Okay,
That's
very
done
good.
every year, yes.
I just saw it as, just as Rommel, and I haven't seen anybody else. So,
Typically, all the principals do go, but we've had a lot of shortage in staff, and so people have elected to stay back in some
Okay.
instances, so, but it's allotted for in all of the budgets
All
for the
right.
principals.
okay, and there was one more on page 5A, 01196,
Page five of 7, what is that again?
correct? Page 5 of 7.
Which number is it again, I'm sorry? A what?
A 01196.
Okay. Okay, yeah, Dr. Meese attended a special education conference reimbursement. So what is your question for that?
Yeah, wondering what it is. He's attending special education conferences?
I will need to double check which conference, I do not recall off the top of my
Okay.
head.
All right, that would be fine, thank
Everybody
you.
that is attending thinks they're doing it within their areas.
I have a question. So, and my question is just regarding our our procedure, our process when it comes to supplies, conferences, et cetera. Is it, well, let's go to conferences. Is it still our practice that the district books that as opposed to reimbursing individual employees? Because this, the ACH checks are reimbursements, right? So my question is have we changed our process and protocol when booking conferences? Are we having individuals pay for it and then get reimbursed? Or if so, why does the district not continue to do that?
Typically, what we've been trying to do is the district pay for it in advance, but there have been situations where if something is just found out, or depending on whether you can get in, people may pay and then they get reimbursed. The goal is to have people, the district, pay for things in advance so that people do not have to get reimbursed. That's the goal. But there are some instances where CT conference, Dr. Gardner will talk about that, a couple of people that are going to this conference, where it was at a crunch. And so they may have paid for it if the district didn't pay for it, and will be seeking reimbursement as a result.
Okay, and then I have my question on this too is, just for clarity, I see that we have a payment in the amount of, I don't have it in front of me, 4,000 something to Brad Werfel. I know I had sent an email asking if he's still contracted with the district. I've heard conflicting information that he had turned in his 30 days notice and is no longer working for us, but I see payments on the check register. So if we could just have clarification, is he still under contract, or did he submit the 30 days notice and leave working for the district?
I will need to double check to get back with you on that. What? Oh, go ahead.
No, he hasn't. The contract is up, I think it's December.
Thank you.
I understood that it ended the end of October. Okay.
Any other questions? You
Yeah,
said-
I had my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking this way.
That's okay.
I'm sorry,
I-
Mr. Bergeron.
My question is on the payments. We have another payment this month to Gianmarco, Mullins, and Horton for $26,000. What are they handling for us that, I've seen $500,000 in bills going to this law firm. For what? Does anybody know? Pardon?
A lawsuit.
Okay.
For who? We're suing somebody or somebody suing us? Well, yeah, what?
That's, I believe that's the Transportation Auxiliary lawsuit that's going on there.
Are we suing them or are they suing us?
We'll have to discuss that in closed session.
So
Baloney. It's a bill. You're paying a bill in a public meeting. Okay, I want to know what it's for. If we're suing somebody or somebody suing us. None of this, oh, we got to go in a public meeting. Baloney. It's a open meeting. It's an open expense. You can tell me what they're doing.
It's a
Because
combination.
$500,000 on $1 million lawsuit is ridiculous.
As
And
we
you
have-
guys are having a problem with dollar values and the valuation of a dollar, okay? If it's to save $25 on going to a seminar, oh my God, we can't do that. But, you know, we can throw away thousands and thousands of dollars on lawsuits. That's just Gianmarco. What about the other guy? Dr. Bloodsaw, well, not Dr. Bloodsaw, but Dr. Weatherspoon, his buddies made $150,000 off of us for a lawsuit on the bus. Really?
So the initial was, we canceled, I don't know all of the definitions, there is, I know, there is a situation with transportation, and this law firm is handling the situation of the transportation issue. We've had those meetings, we've had discussions in closed sessions regarding this.
Oh, so it's special because it's in closed session? We're still paying out money. So you know, I
Oh,
don't
last-
understand this.
last-
I don't understand how you guys fired Ben over expenses and that, but yet you guys are spending hundreds, you know, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on lawsuits over you don't even know what.
We have to be careful what is discussed in open session when it comes to lawsuits, okay?
Is it open session to pay a bill?
It is, but
All
you're
right
asking
then.
for
Then
specifics.
by God, I need to know what that is.
Okay, then we will go into closed session.
No,
and
we
dis-
won't.
Okay.
I
then
want the public to
I'm
know
not-
what's going on. I want the public to know what you're spending this money on.
Point of
I only
order.
got 2 minutes.
Point of
2
order, Madam
meetings
Chair.
left, and by God, some of these issues are gonna come out.
Mr. Bergeron.
Di-
Ma'am,
Dialogue should not be between two board members, but questions should be asked of the chair and responded to.
We've talked about this item for several months. There are certain things, because it is pending litigation, that we cannot discuss in open forum, Mr. Bergeron.
well, if you're gonna
I
have me,
understand your concern as to why it is so high. There's a lot of different aspects to that particular case.
I know, and I did some homework on that particular case. And you know what? It's all for naught. I don't know, for some reason, somebody has a friend over here that has a friend that has a friend, and we're gonna create this problem. And, you know, have you guys ever done any research on this? Have you ever talked to anybody besides the lawyers that are making big money off of us? I don't
Madam
think
Chair?
so.
Can we move on, please?
Madam Chair, I have a question to this, though. When this motion for this particular firm was brought to us, and Mr. Bergeron raised the concern of legal fees, I had asked, normally in lawsuits, we file a claim with our insurance company, and then we max out payments, legal fees at $17,500. I have followed up and sent an email asking about the status of that, and it has not been responded to. So I will ask, because Mr. Bergeron raises a good point. We're continuing to pay this firm. Have we filed an insurance claim with our company? And if so, why are we paying in excess of $17,500 deductible?
Dr. Bledsoe, can you please get with Shelby as it relates to, I know there was a conversation about her looking into filing a claim on a couple of the lawsuits. Can you see where that stands, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Are you good with your questions as it relates to bills of payment?
Yes, yes, Dr. Bledsoe said that she would follow up on a few of the items.
We need to make a motion to accept the bills for payment, please.
Move that the Board of Education accept the bills for payment as presented by Sarah Khan in the amount of $1,091,894.33.
Support.
So it's motion by
Evans.
Evans and supported by Piles to approve the bills for payment as presented. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Evans,
Yes.
Bergeron,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Terrell,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
motion carries.
We're still under the report of the interim superintendent, Dr. Bledsoe. You have A, which is a FYI.
So yes, on last Monday, where's my paper? I'm sorry. On last Monday, several staff members attended this K-12 Live Well, Lead Well Summit. This was a summit that was put on by, at Oakland Schools and several of the surrounding intermediate school districts. We had several people in attendance. I was in attendance, Dr. Gardner was in attendance, Dr. Meese, Scott Rourke, Mr. Cook represented the high school for Mr. Petty, and Ms. Powles was there. and it talked about resources that we could use for social emotional learning, our mental health, and it provided a lot of free resources. So one of the resources they talked about is the JED Foundation, which talks about preventing suicides. One particular high school has this organization called the Hope Squad. And they were able to bring on 2 of their student leaders to talk about suicides and at the high school level and just at all levels, but having a safe place for students to go. This is a program that is free where the students are talking to their peers, not only just adults, but also their peers, because sometimes they will go to their peers and say certain words, buzzwords, or things like that, and the students are getting support by adults in the building. So the students that spoke, they were students, you look at them every day, they look like everything is going well, good students in terms of GPAs, well-behaved, or what have you, but internally, there's something that's going on. And so they shared their stories, and it was just very powerful. So one of the things that we talked about is perhaps bringing some similar type of programs into Romulus. Another thing we talked about was My Life is Worth Living, which is using animation to help youth support mental health. There is a president and CEO of Wonder Media. His name is Terry Thorne. He was here and talked. He is also the producer of cartoons like the Rugrats, Simpsons, and things of that nature. And those cartoons are put in, have been created to talk about mental health issues that students may go to and how parents can use those resources, those videos, or teachers can use those videos to talk to students, to share with students. Those were free as well. So once I got those videos, I did send them to Roxanne and asked her to put them on the website. I have not communicated everything out yet, but I'm in the process of writing a letter to share this information. Another resource was parentguidance.org, where parents can go online to do some their online courses. You can ask a therapist, and just roadmaps that parents can use, support that parents can use to help students as well. So this particular event provided a wealth of information. And the people that were selected to attend were selected because of their various roles in the district. You know, the high school is at a point where, you know, a lot of support is needed at the high school. And so I extended the offer to Mr. Petty, but he ended up sending a representative, which I also said, if you cannot attend, send a representative. And Mr. Cook is over the student what is the lab? Thank you, Success Lab, thank you. Over the Success Lab, and he took away a lot of great information from that as well. And so Dr. Meese was, you know, there in terms of working with our social workers, psychologists, and things of that nature. So these are key roles within our district just to, you know, try to provide us with additional support. And Dr. Colbert insisted that this district send a team of educators to participate in this. There were so many people, I can't tell you how many, but the room was packed, and we couldn't get any extra people in there. And so it was just well received. I don't know if Trustee Powles would like to speak on it, add to it, because she was in attendance as well, or if Dr. Gardner, would you like to?
Yeah, I was amazed and thankful to see how much collaboration and networking has already been done, and the resources that are available to us at no cost to the district for mental health supports. Dr. Bledsoe, you mentioned the parent guidance, and I noticed that was on our website that same day. My question is is there, I know it's on our website, but how will we make sure that our parents know about it? Can we send out a text?
I'm
or
sending
email?
out, in the process of sending out a letter. I just haven't finished it yet.
Okay. And then my other question was, in light of all of the money for mental health supports and school safety, and I know when the conference wrapped up, there was a time for districts to talk with each other about the steps to a healthy school and gathering our team and what we're going to do. So my only question would be, now that we have been able to take advantage of that summit, that mental wellness summit, what will we do next at Romulus Community Schools?
I will be meeting with Cabinet, and so I will have to get back with you on that, okay? Thank you.
Yep, so any other FYIs?
Also, Bill Garland may talk about this, but the weight room at the high school has been approved by the fire marshal. And we are looking to have a ribbon cutting and would like to know when the board is available so that we can do that ribbon cutting, preferably early next week, as early as possible. Several people will not be available this week, and so early next week, if we can do that, agree with a date and do the ribbon cutting, that would be great. Mr. Garland, I don't know if you have anything additional to add about that?
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Yes, this has been a long time coming. You are all aware of how long this has been in the process. It had been held up for many months waiting on this approval. We had to get all these inspections, which we did it by the book. But now everyone is itching to go. They can't wait to get in it. It's beautiful. You're going to be so impressed. We just need that final little door opening event that we would like you guys to be the benefactors of.
Just provide us some dates. I mean, I know Dr. Bless us early next week. I know you were looking at trying to get it done this week, but I think a lot of people are out of town. So I'm available early next week. I know it'll probably be during the day. So,
If we can do it Monday, let's do it Monday.
Monday's fine.
Monday's fine with me.
What time?
You want me to set the time?
Well, who all needs to be in
Right.
attendance, so let's
I-
do,
I-
let's
You
do,
can let us
let's
know
do
tomorrow.
to be
Right.
determined. Let
To be
me, let's
determined.
just check with a
Right.
couple of people, because I don't want to, Mr. Petty has to be involved,
Right.
and so let's do a to be determined for Monday.
And I know we got some gym teachers who would love to, some coaches that would like to be there, and obviously a lot of students that would like to at least tour it, right? Go through, walk through, be
Right.
nice.
So that'll be nice. Just we'll leave it to be determined and we'll look for that information coming out soon.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. And then the last thing, I had a talk with Mr. Delaporte, and was asking him about our contract for downtown boxing gym, and then he also shared with me, but there's still a lease agreement that that was not approved and that needed to be approved. So that's why it's on here, because I did not realize that part, and so.
I didn't either. Yeah, I had no idea.
Okay, so do we have to put that on hold, or?
Well, a couple,
I thought you all were aware of it, and that I simply missed it coming into the
no,
room.
we knew that,
I
we knew about
apologize.
the MOU,
Okay.
right? But we did not, I did not know that there was an issue with leasing the property because they're using our properties. Okay, I just thought it was all in one fell swoop of the MOU. There was some concern before, well, we were sitting at the table regarding page 6, and a lot of this has been Xed out, and it was just brought up as to why this was X, why it was canceled, why it was changed. And I believe we could get, if the board would like, we could get Mr. Delaporte on the phone if it would be easy to just answer those questions, why it was canceled. If that would please everybody, or if anybody has an issue with it being Xed out, that would be the only thing that I have to say. So, does anyone have issues and would not be willing to move forward with it the way it is?
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
With all due respect, I don't feel good about Delport. I want a legal opinion from our lawyers for the school district, not Dr. Witherspoon's lawyer. Okay, and that's what I think this gentleman is. He's riding on both lawsuits, or he's riding on this policy and the lawsuit. And before I do anything with the gym, it has to be from legal, from outside of Delport, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you guys vote however you want, but, you know, it just has an appearance of impropriety.
Madam Secretary?
I have a question too. Before approving the lease, in the contract, the responsibility of the district is page 4, item A, provide food and transportation before, during, and after programming for participating youth to the maximum extent allowable by law. So my question is I'd like to know,
Is that the MOU?
yes,
Oh, okay, I'm
I
sorry.
would like to know, one, do we have enough transportation workers for us to fulfill our obligation according to this contract? Two, if we do have enough bus drivers, what is the cost to the district for transporting? And I'm not disputing. I would like to see us transporting more of our students to more opportunities, but as a board, we should know the cost. One, are they available to do it? Two, what is the cost to the district? And three, provide food. We need to, that again involves a vendor. And I recently found out just last week that our students, all of our students used to be fed dinner. They stayed after for tutoring, for athletics, for Bright Futures, and that has stopped. I was told that our food service manager, the chef, informed Bright Futures that they no longer get dinner because they're a 2.5-hour program and it needs to be 3 to qualify. It's concerning because Bright Futures is in 8 buildings in one district and 15 buildings in another, and their students receive dinner.
Is it for the same amount of time?
Yes, Bright Futures the same amount of time, and other districts in our ISD and throughout the state, their students receive dinner when they just stay after for tutoring for 2 hours. And that is a grant funded, it's at no additional cost to the district, but it is additional work for the food service company. So if somebody's misinformed, then that's great. We can just, provide that information. But as a board, and we've had this conversation many, many times, there is tremendous food insecurity with the families in this community. And this board has openly stated multiple times that we want our students fed. And even at the Mental Wellness Summit, that was one of the things that came up. For students to be mentally well, they need to be fed. And so, coming back to this contract, because I've digressed a bit, responsibilities of the district, page 4, item A, provide food and transportation before, during, and after programming. I'd like to make sure that that will happen because we've got vendors involved and what the cost is.
I will look into that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this lease agreement?
I'm fine with moving ahead.
So I'm concerned with the, I'm fine with moving ahead, except that once we enter into the lease agreement and DBG comes in, we still have these unknowns about transporting our students and feeding them. So it seems that, and if we could get those answers and maybe have a special meeting, because I do understand the urgency with getting this program started for our students, but I'm concerned about moving ahead and agreeing to a lease when we don't have costs for food or transportation or even know if it's viable, because if it's not, then that would need to get struck from the contract as well.
But the contract's already been signed and agreed on.
It has, we've agreed on that, but now there's this lease, and again, this is something that was brought, and I asked it, when we approved the contract, I asked Dr. Weatherspoon and at the table, but he had said that if we could have transportation, we would, or if we couldn't, we wouldn't, and he'd be working on that, but this is actually stated in here. So at the time we consummate the lease, we need to be prepared to fulfill our duties.
Well, Dr. Bledsoe said that she would be looking into the questions as it relates to the food and the transportation.
Right. So if we approve the lease and they come in,
But the,
what is that answer about food and transportation?
if the lease had never been presented, you would still be at that same point, right?
Right.
Right, but they wouldn't be coming in until the lease is approved, correct?
But what I'm saying is, until it was mentioned about a lease, everyone thought that everything was taken care of with the MOU. So, and I'm playing devil's
Well, no, this is a question that I asked in open meeting of Dr. Weatherspoon, and we were told that it was being worked on, but we have a different interim soup now, and so, again, if we approve the lease, DBG comes in immediately, our interim soup was not in on these initial discussions. We don't know about food and transportation. So if we approve a lease, they could come in tomorrow, which is great for our students, but bad if we can't get them home or feed them.
Typically for programs like this, typically food is provided because of your grants and things of that nature, so I do not foresee that being an issue. I just don't want to say for absolute certain. Typically, whenever you have any programs after school, students are provided snack, dinner, so on and so forth.
Right.
And then in terms of transportation, I do know from visiting the downtown boxing gym, to some capacity, they were even providing transportation if it was needed for a particular kid or two. But I will look into transportation with our transportation department. There's a shortage of bus drivers all over the place, so, I'm not going to make any promises, but I will look into it and get back with you.
Is it an option to, if our transportation company cannot provide that service, for us to see how much it would cost to have another transportation company provide just that service for our after-school programs, so that our students have the transportation?
Mr. Garland? I'm so glad you be sitting in the back, Doc.
Well, to answer Trustee Pyle's question, absolutely, because this is not related to actual school work. But I want to be certain that DBG still wants to come.
They do.
They do. And you've spoken to Kali, and because I didn't see the lease agreement. I haven't seen a new lease agreement. And so I need to know, they may not be able to come in tomorrow because we don't have things prepared for them to come in tomorrow. So I need to have a copy of that lease agreement and see what's expected, because we shut everything down after our last conversation. They were very concerned, and they were talking about us starting it up next year. So we weren't sure where we were going to go with the auto lab and those type of things.
So I have talked to Jessica at, I periodically check in with her, just to make sure that they still are interested. And she said, yes, they are. They are diligently working for DBG downtown. It's amazing what we have missed out on because of our inability to agree on contracts and different things. But they're doing amazing things for DBG, and Romulus is missing out on many things that they can bring to us. They are anxious to get here to help our kids. That was the last that I talked to her, just to check in, right? I'm not having any sidebars with her that are inappropriate, nothing about contracts, nothing. But they do want to come to Romulus. They really do. So,
And when I spoke,
and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Bloodsaw, or anyone that's talked to them.
when I spoke to Callie, the CEO, he mentioned that there were some students from Romulus that actually go down to the downtown boxing gym
Right.
to participate. And if we were to have it here, it would be right at home for them. But there are currently students that are participating in the program and love it, from my understanding.
Right.
So I can reach back out to them as well. I'll call Callie and just to double check.
I think it would be advisable for us to have a meeting to find out what's going to be needed and exactly what would be the drop dead start date. Those things logistically are difficult right now. So,
Well,
yes.
there are also some things that, from talking to them, that they really wanted to begin at the beginning of the school year. By beginning at the beginning of the school year, you get the students, they pre-test the students because they support the students after school, and they want to do like the post-testing at the end of the school year. So there were some things, so those, because of potentially the late start, it just get pushed back. So those things we just have to find out, because I know there was some intentional things they wanted to do at the very beginning of the school year.
Yeah, because our last conversation with Sarah and the team, Jessica and them, we talked about it possibly happening the fall, us opening in the fall, because of all the things that had happened within the district. So I just want some clarification from the board. So if you guys can help us with that, then we'll get back on. We have been continuing to get our inventory out of there. We're getting ready to have Bittergy come and see all the stuff. I got back on the list to have the rest of the equipment decommissioned, but that's a process because when we first shut it down, I shut down that aspect of it, not wanting to spend that money to decommission the equipment, not knowing what was going to happen. So we have since started doing those things, but I just would like a solid timeline to work with. Okay. Okay, those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. So
Have we
are
incurred any
we,
expenses yet on DBG?
I'm sorry?
Have we incurred any expenses yet on DBG?
No,
Okay.
we haven't spent anything out.
so from this conversation, I know it's on here as an action item, are we going to table this until more information is gotten, especially with the ETA date of when they want to start? If Mr. Garland is saying that they still have to decommission some things and get the rooms cleaned out.
If we table this, is it possible to not wait until the second week in December and maybe have a special meeting so that we're not dragging this out and move faster, give like time for Dr. Bledsaw to get her information and for Bill Garland, or do we need to wait until that December meeting?
If information is gotten, I don't see it as being an issue as being a special meeting next week. It won't be this week.
Right.
Right.
It won't be this week, so, we can possibly do a special meeting if the information is gotten in enough time for us to do it for next week. I don't want to make a promise that we're going to have a special meeting. You all know I hate special meetings.
Just an FYI, the last time I reached out to Callie, he was out of the country, and several of his
Right.
people were out of the
Right.
country, and we couldn't get in touch
They
with
were in
them.
Italy for
Right.
6 weeks.
So I don't want to, I will reach out, but I don't know if they're available.
No, that's why I
Yeah,
said
okay, yeah.
If we got the info, right.
If we can, then we could. If not, then it would be at the next meeting.
All right, so we're going to
Do
table
we need
it.
a motion to table, or do we, or we didn't make a motion,
We didn't
correct?
make a motion. It
Okay.
was really just a discussion.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you for all the information on that. So we're finished with, Dr. Bledsoe, did you have any other FYIs or anything? You're good?
No, that's it for now, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. While we're still under the report of the superintendent, could we get a follow-up on the questions that were asked at the last meeting under the report of the superintendent?
I sent an email out today. I did send an email out answering those questions.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Number 6 is the report of the District Director of Community Outreach and Special Programs, Dr. Gardner. Department updates, please. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me tonight. I was asked to give an update on our CTE program. Each of you received a copy of the presentation, and thank you, Roxanne, for actually having it up on the screen as well. Thank you. So the CTE program is facilitated by Ms. Krista James. You actually saw her at the last board meeting because she's our Meta Lab coordinator and also our CTE coordinator. So she wears 2 hats in that round. Ready now? Yeah. There we go. Okay. So I just want to start by stating the objectives for today's presentation. Number 1, to provide an overview. Sorry. No problem. It's showing up on the YouTube thing, so I'm going to change view. Got it. That's it. Thank you. So the first objective is to provide an overview of the district CTE program. Number 2, I'm going to share current CTE data. And then number 3, outline future goals for the CTE program. So in addition to the objectives, our agenda, so this is the layout of our presentation. So I want to begin by setting the stage and actually sharing where we are as a CTE program at the beginning of the school year. I'll then talk about the Wayne Reese oversight, which is pretty intense, our CTE course offerings, the data, our OKRs, specifically our objectives for our teachers and our students, and then end with future goals. So this is the current state. I started with the district August 29th of this year, and Ms. James started in September. And when we started with CTE, we got a very rude awakening. We, as a district, have been compliant or out of compliance last school year. So as a result, right now, we are actually trying to catch up and become in compliance from last school year, being the 21-22 school year, along with making sure compliance for this school year. So when we say we're out of compliance, that means reports were not submitted on time. We are abided by a Perkins grant, so that means that those items are not submitted on time either. We're not followed through. So it's a pretty heavy lift that we are undertaking right now to actually catch up and clean up from the previous year. So as a result, it just talks about how during the school year for 21-22, Romulus Community Schools was out of compliance as a result, and we were placed on a regional oversight schedule. We're only one of 3 districts on this oversight schedule as a result of being out of compliance in Wayne County. And so, as a result, we have to do extra work compared to our other districts. Going to our third rectangle there, that means our CTE coordinator, Ms. James, must meet on a monthly basis with Wayne Reese and provide a status update on our program. Also, our CTE coordinator must also attend monthly CIP, which talks about our check-ins in regards to the self-review check-ins at that time as well. So we're doing multiple meetings that other districts do not have to actually attend because we're out of compliance. So I just wanted to set the stage. I know it was discussed about the annual conference that's coming up. That is in Las Vegas. But as a result of the lack of compliance, the need for best practices, we are sending Ms. James, our CTE coordinator, and one of our CTE teachers to the conference. One thing I would say, feedback from our CTE teachers, they are really enjoying and appreciate the support that Ms. James is providing to them, because they're saying that they have not received the type of support, the type of training and opportunities as it relates to CTE. So I just wanted to make sure we started here to let you know where we started. So what does the Wayne Reese Regional Oversight means? So there's multiple deadlines for trainings that we must submit. And right now, we also have, as I stated before, attend those monthly meetings. We have weekly meetings. We have also, for the first time since 2020, the 21 school year, we now have an advisory board. We did not have one last school year, and this is a requirement for the CTE program. They actually had their first meeting tonight. We have 13 individuals, and I'll talk more about that on another slide, a robust roster of business advisors. We have a parent on that committee. We have a student on that committee, and also 3 of our teachers, including a special education teacher. So that's something we're very excited about, because we did not have that since 2020-2021 school year. Another piece, we are expected to find business mentors for our CTE teachers. At this time, we have 1 of 2 mentors, and we're working on our second one. And that's in the business field, according to the teacher's expertise and also the coursework. And then lastly, we actually have a Wayne Reese site visit and audit that is scheduled for January 23rd, 2023, where Wayne Reese will actually come into Romulus High School, visit our CTE program. We must have multiple artifacts ready for the review to basically show them we're on track to getting back in compliance. So when I started in this role, before I came, it was conversations about us no longer having CTE. We decided we were going to have CTE. And so for the Perkins grant, we must have at least 3 courses. And during the research, we found that we already have 3 CTE courses that's happening at the high school right now. We have an accounting course, a business management course, and a computer programming course. And as you see, we have the number of classes listed next to it, with a total of 111 students enrolled in our CTE program for the district. And as a result of having those 3 programs, we are a Perkins Grant district. So the Perkins grants, just for transparency purposes. So our Perkins grant for the district is $32,000. And the monies are in 4 buckets. The first being, we'll be hiring a CTE data analyst that we pay strictly from our Perkins grant. And the purpose of that data analyst is to make follow-up calls that's required for the CTE program, to also submit reports that's based on the data, which is also another requirement for the CTE program. This role right here is a popular role, and a role that's actually held in many CTE programs. Conferences and professional development. So we have a conference this week. We attended a conference earlier this school year, and lots and lots and lots of PD for our teachers. Ms. James goes during their early release days. She has POCs with the CTE teachers. They have collaborative opportunities to grow and learn to be better instructors. Student supplies. We have one of our CTE teachers that needed calculators for our students. It's in our Perkins grant. And lastly, cross-curricular opportunities for staff and students. We do not want to have our CTE program taught in isolation. We must make connections to mathematics, science, and also reading. So we have training, we have other opportunities to ensure that happens for our students and also our teachers. So those are the buckets that breaks down our Perkins grant. I mentioned earlier about our CTE advisory board. Again, they're meeting right now virtually. Ms. James is there with them. And our board is composed of this makeup here. We have 1 central office staff, Ms. James. We have 7 business members. We have 1 parent from Romulus Community Schools, 1 student, one of our CTE students, and we have 3 teachers with 1 being from the special education department. We wanted to ensure that we had all of our student support that was necessary for all of our students in our program. I talked about enrollment being a total of 111 students. Right here, you have the breakdown of each of those courses. We're looking at the business management. One thing Ms. James and I have in common, we love data, but we reflect on the data and see, okay, what is it telling us? And what I'm seeing here, as we increase enrollment, looking at that business management class and seeing what can we do to make it more enticing, more attractive to increase enrollment in that course. Right here, in addition to enrollment data, we have our academic data. So right here, we looked at the overall averages for each of the programs. Next on our agenda are OKRs. These are objectives and key results. You should have remembered these from the MetaLab presentation. Under my division, so we have multiple programs. They all have these OKRs. I am a believer in backwards design model, so knowing your targets up front and having a plan to reach those. So these OKRs, OKR 1, 2, and 3, were not developed by myself or Ms. James. They were collectively developed by our 2 CTE teachers. So the first one, the teachers want our students to be problem solvers, critical thinkers, and work collaboratively in the classroom. Number 2, they want themselves to see growth in chapter test scores and also student observations of them, the students doing the items in OKR 1. And number 3, with data, you must have a specific metric. So they want to see at least 70% on the post-test exams. So it can be more than 70%, but at least 70%. So these are our goals that we have laid out for our CTE program, and our teachers, again, collaboratively develop these goals. One thing as an educator, you get buy-in by not telling someone what to do, but having them actually participate and actually determine what their goals are going to be. And as a program as a whole, here are our future program goals. So we want to increase enrollment in the CTE program, so that involves marketing, having our students be the advocates for what they're doing in their classroom. Number 2 and 3, implementing the culinary arts program and also implementing the health occupation program. So there were some emails about where we stand with these additional programs. We received feedback from WANYERISA. We're going to meet about it as an administrative team and provide a recommendation on how to proceed moving forward for the district. And lastly, we want to become compliant with MDE and WANYERISA. One highlight I have at the bottom, Ms. James attended the last CTE program with multiple districts in the room, and the WANYERISA coordinator stated that she gave us kudos because she knows where we started this year. And she said, you know, you are really making progress towards ensuring the district, Romulus Community Schools, is making progress about being back in compliance. So we're working hard. We have, again, double duty, but we're working very hard to ensure that we are in compliance as a district with our CTE program. And I, again, end where I started, beginning with the end in mind. These are my 3 objectives. I believe I hit each and every one of them in this presentation. And I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Gardner. Thank you so much. Is there any questions or comments from the table?
I have 2 comments or questions. How were the business members, were they contacted? How were they selected?
Yes, so we started first with our teachers because they are in the CTE program. A lot of the recommendations came from business partners that they're already aware of and connected with. So that was one way we actually got some of our members on the advisory board. Also looking in the area, again, we want the members to have some buy-in to the district. We didn't want anyone that's like from a whole nother city way far away with no connection to Romulus. So we also made sure that was a criteria as well. So number 1, getting feedback and recommendations from our teachers, and then looking at local businesses around the area as well.
Okay, and then, oh, this was just a comment by me. No, that's it, thank you.
Any other questions, Secretary Piles?
Yes, I have a question. You mentioned the Perkins money 32,000 from Perkins funds. That's down from 108,000 that we were previously receiving. Is that because of being out of compliance?
Good question. So when I joined the team, we actually were allotted $60,000. So that is correct. When you're out of compliance, your money decreases and it is distributed to other districts taking our money. So I was like, oh my goodness. So that was one thing that really motivated us, in addition to making sure the district was in compliance, but we want to have that money used for our program. Now, to be transparent, as you see, we did not spend $60,000, as was stated before. We ended with $32,000. Because another thing, I'm not just going to spend money to spend money. We have to have a reason. It must connect back to each of our goals and must be acceptable in a Perkins grant. So that's how we ended up with $32,000 after we continued to revise our budget, get input from the finance team to ensure we're actually going to spend the money. Because that's another consequence. If you don't spend the money, you lose it. So the recommendation is to really make sure that your budget is aligned to your goals, and then next year, be in compliance, you can get more, as opposed to ask for more, don't spend it, and not be in compliance, you lose your money. So yes, that's the reason why.
So our problem historically with Perkins, we didn't have a problem with spending the money. The problem was in the drawdowns. It wasn't being drawn down, and so that we could be reimbursed. Who is currently responsible for drawing down Perkins funds?
Yes, so the process is, once it is drawn down, I know we work with Ms. Khan, Sarah Khan in the finance department, and Mark Graham. They are very good with making sure that we are getting anything we need to have any financial drawdowns for, that we have all the evidence that's necessary, any receipts, anything else to support that. So they've been doing a great job supporting us in that effort.
I'm sorry, Madam President, I know one thing that we learned when we were focusing on CTE and trying to really build that program up is that many of our high school students were not even aware that we had CTE courses. I know that with the culinary arts, the chef was telling students, and they were pleasantly surprised to find out, one of the things that Perkins money can be spent on is career guidance and counseling. So are we using any Perkins money to market our CTE program to our students, make them aware of what we have, and then help them select what they might be interested in? And then to tag onto that, these numbers you gave us, are those completers? Are those students actually enrolled in the program, or are those students that are taking business or accounting or something as an elective, but not enrolled in the whole program?
I heard two questions. I'm going to tackle the first one. So can you repeat the first one? That was very long. The
I'm
first
sorry,
part of the question.
Like, are we doing career guidance and counseling and making students aware that we even have CT offerings?
Good question. So when we developed the budget, that was one of the first things I wanted to actually include in the budget was marketing, advertising our wonderful program we're going to bring on board. According to the requirements for the Perkins grant, the marketing can be only for specific programs. So our general programs that we have, the 3 that we have right now, do not qualify for those special programs. So it's an opportunity to actually use it for advertising, but when I checked into it, that's one of the first questions I had for Marisa. They said, well, we can't use it, the Perkins grant. But I will tell you, we do not have another revenue source, added cost funds, that will come down the line, not right now, but later, when we have less restrictions on it. So I do see those funds being able to be used for marketing and advertising of our program. But the Perkins grant has more stringent requirements that we can't use it for. Good question.
Okay, and then my last question is, as we talk about CTE, and I know this board and our board's going to change in January, but this board has really tried to provide quality CTE courses that, one, our students are interested in, and two, that they will benefit from. So my question is well, and thank you for preparing all of this. So my question would be for you is, what is a high-quality CTE course? What does that look like?
That's a great question. So number one, we talked about the OKRs. Those goals, focusing on those goals, ensuring our students are problem solving, that they're showing that they're problem solving, they're critical thinkers, and they're also showing it in the data. And so also making sure our teachers are aware and knowledgeable, which is why Ms. Swint is attending our conference that's coming up this this week, actually. So I think it includes having knowledgeable CTE teachers that can then implement and instruct quality CTE instruction and making sure the students are engaged. So again, we can't have a CTE program or a class looking like a regular traditional classroom. They must be up, they must be speaking, they must be actually engaged in the work and making connections to the business world and seeing how it connects to their real world and their life afterwards. So I think it's a number of things. Of course, the data is going to drive what that looks like as well. But again, those goals and ensuring the students have a voice and what their program looks like as well. So those are some of the factors that I believe that a high-quality CTE program, but also align to the expectations that we have from the state. They can't do their own thing. And that's why Ms. James is there on a weekly basis monitoring the instruction, having those POCs to ensure they know what it looks like to have high-quality instruction, providing feedback, positive and constructive, to ensure we have a well-rounded program in the district.
Thank you. And to follow up, what you just described actually sounds like our culinary arts program that has been a long-standing program and had just that high-quality instructors, engaged students. And so, and I know that that's one of the goals is to implement culinary arts and health OC, but those are programs that we had that were strong. So I guess I'm wondering why that's not continuing and why it's going to be implemented later.
That's a good question. I'll have to ask more questions about why it was implemented before I started in August, and I can get back with you on that to get some background. You're welcome.
Trustee Evans?
So it sounds like Ms. James has her plate full with Meta Labs and CTE. How much time does she spend on CTE and Meta Labs?
Oh, that's a good question. So that's something we had to really work through when she first started, because as you know, both are pretty intense programs, specifically MetaLab, because it's a new program to the district. I can't give you the percentage, but I know she ensures that we are in target of submitting all our reports, making sure that we're in compliance to where we need to be in order to ensure we're aligned to what's expected from CTE. So I can't give you a percentage breakdown, 50-40 or 50-50, 60-40, but I will let you know that we're covering what we need to cover in both MetaLab and also CTE to ensure that each of them are actually getting the attention that they need at this time.
And I know that she will be at the CTE conference this next week, yet we have a soft opening for Meta Labs coming up. How can she make sure that the soft opening is going smoothly and be off-site?
So one thing you'll learn quickly about myself, I'm a believer in timelines. I already have the timeline. We talked about this in advance. I'm a proactive thinker. So we've had meetings back in October, back in November now about what it looks like. While Ms. James is away at the conference, I will be going to the schools, observing our MetaLab teachers, ensuring our CTE program is still up and running, providing support. So although Ms. James has a heavy plate, I am there to support her. So to know that the MetaLab soft opening timeline is well thought out. We're going to also work with Brad in connection with the advertising and marketing. I believe you already received the plan. Again, that was something that was well thought out in advance. And so that is something I can let you know that we definitely have a plan. Even though she'll be away, I will be here connecting with her to ensure things continue to move on in her absence.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions, comments? Trustee Bergeron?
Pardon me?
Vice President Terrell?
No, I'm good.
I do have one question.
Is your mic on?
I did have one question, and it's relative to the cosmetology and the information that was presented. It just seems like it's dropped completely off the radar, so. Is there plans to continue with that? Because we had a report from one of the instructors that there were several students, I believe they said 50, 70 students that were interested in it, so.
You want me to respond?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So one reason it was not included in this presentation is because cosmetology is not a CTE program, it's an elective for the high school. And it is currently up and running at this time at the high school. We are actually in the process of ensuring that the cosmetology program is placed back into the 2 licensed classroom. Bill has been very helpful, and Principal Petty has been very helpful in ensuring that that process is smooth. So we have identified a classroom with a personal care med lab class will relocate, so the cosmetology classes are back in the licensed classroom. Our timeline is to have that completed by second semester.
Okay, that was gonna be my question, because I know there was an email that went out stating that we were gonna be transitioning back. So I was just trying to find out what that status was. So we should have that by second semester, you're saying?
Yes, and the reason why we selected that date, because we wanted to make sure it was the least disruptive to our students and staff. So by having that timeline, we're going to do it right, systematically, to ensure all staff and students have what they need in those classrooms.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam President, I really don't care about cosmetology.
Someone has to help you shave and keep you looking good. Come on now. Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Dr. Gardner.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the report of the Director of Human Resources, Mr. Dan Scott. Action item is the contract for assistant principals at Romulus High School.
I believe you have in your packets the resumes as well as the contracts for the 2 assistant principals at the high school. One of them is here tonight, Mr. Paul Niedermeyer, and they're looking forward to being able to begin as soon as possible, hopefully as soon as you all approve them.
Someone like to read the first motion, please?
Move that the Board of Education employ Paul Niedermeyer as an assistant principal for the Romulus High School with a start date effective November 29, 2022. The rationale, Board of Education, consideration to fill an open position at Romulus High School, budget implication, general fund, and exhibits our employment contract, resume, and letter of reference.
Support?
So we have a motion by trustee Evans, supported by Secretary Piles. Is there any discussion?
I do have a question. The RAZA contract that the board approved in May 2021, it has the positions listed, and it's posted on our website, that we have the principal, and then we have 2 APs. And in there, it lists a high school assistant principal / CTE and high school assistant principal AD. Is this something that we can try and have those specialties, those specific areas of focus fall back under as per the terms of the collective bargaining agreement?
Repeat that. You talked a whole lot.
Yeah, so my question is we're going to hire 2 APs. Are we at some point going to go back to the collective bargaining agreement and align these positions with what the board voted on in May 2021?
That was not the intent at this point.
Okay, so then do we need to reopen this contract and redo it? My question is one of alignment, not questioning. I think that this is an excellent candidate, and we're fortunate to have him. So mine is more, my question is regarding procedure and being aligned with our contract that's posted on the website.
I did talk to the individual who's kind of their acting president at this point, who we talked about salaries. And because as you can see there were actually, I think, 2 different ones based upon which area of focus, I believe. And we decided based upon that, I think it's the top one, if you look at the salary that's in the,
CTE is top,
No, the AD is 101.
is the contract.
look at the
Both
contract.
contracts
it's
are
got-
the same.
Yes,
Right.
they are
So
the
one
same.
is high end of, the CTE is high end, the AD is low end.
Right, so,
They're the
that,
same dollar figure, but
it's the same dollar figure. However, that dollar figure, and I don't want to speak, is this the,
I think you,
90?
99,
Yes,
yes.
Okay, I thought it was, okay.
Yes.
yeah.
I think you might be misunderstanding the way I did initially,
Okay,
in that the, if you look at that, it makes it look like one of them is on step 2. That's actually because they're both on step 1.
yeah, right, no,
well,
no,
it's different years.
yeah, it's different years. I see that. I'm just, so the higher, this is actually the lower salary, correct?
Correct.
And not the higher one?
Correct.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Was there any discussion about possibly, I know because we've heard from Dr. Bledsaw, and, you know, as we've had trouble hiring, that part of the problem is our administrator salary. And I know with the high school principal, we went ahead and brought him in at step 3. So even at this step 1, was there any discussion about offering these APs the higher of the 2 AP salaries?
I spoke with, as I said, the acting president, and that was his.
So it was negotiated.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So I have a comment, I'm sorry. I have a comment about the terminology in the contract. It says for a one-year term commencing on November 29th, 2022, and ending on June 30th, 2023. Is this a one-year contract, or is this until the end of the school year? Because 1 year, and this is a 6-month, 7-month dating.
That is the end of the contract year.
Those contracts go by school year.
I understand that, but this specifically says that it's for a one-year term, commencing on November 29th, 2022, and ending on June 30th, 2023. Does not say it says of this agreement, not the RAZA agreement, this agreement. So,
Where'd you get that? Mine says the 21st. The contract says November 21st.
It
I'm
should-
looking at the one-year
it should
contract
say the
for,
It should say the 29th. It was a typo.
Be 28, 21, 29.
right.
The
Well, this is
28th is
Kayla
when we're
Seals,
doing
I'm
it.
sorry.
Yes. It should be the 29th.
Should be the 29th. So I'm looking at this, and just want to make sure either we're getting into a one-year contract or we're getting into a 7-month contract.
The way the RAZA agreement speaks, it says a person who is hired into their first year is on probation for that year. Because this is a late hire, that 1 year is prorated for the contract year, which ends June 30th.
So the salary amount for the
Will
work.
be
the work-
prorated.
You're right. The work days per year is normally 208.
Everything is
So
prorated.
it's all prorated beginning
Yes.
November 29th to June
Yes,
30th.
yes.
And that dollar amount is prorated down to
Right,
what's
I
key
understand
if you
all
were
of that,
Yeah.
but I'm just looking at this as, I see 7 months,
7 months.
and I see 1 year. So,
So to be clear, this hire will be a probationary hire through June 30th, not through 12 months, 1 year.
That would be correct.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
I
thank
just
you.
pulled the contract directly from the RAZA contract, as I apparently did not do that the first time and was reminded that I needed to do that, so that's what I did.
and
That's
it's,
the way it's written.
and it says that the district will apply for a 6-month administrator permit? And
Yes,
that the employee will enroll in courses?
yes.
Okay.
I talked to the state to make sure that that was feasible, and it is. And we have already applied for the permit.
Will the courses be done off-site, not during the workday, or will they be done during the workday?
To be honest with you, I'm not familiar with any courses that are done during the workday for certifications like this. Usually they are courses that are done in the evening. I know I personally went through them myself years ago, and they actually were satellite courses because they knew that these were adults who were busy and had full-time jobs. So a lot of my courses that ended up being at a middle school in Wyandotte. And there were about 25 of us that were like a cohort that we went through these courses together.
Very good.
Mr. Scott, thank you for this recommendation.
Thank you.
Our student, staff, and district will be well-served
Thank you,
by this
Mr. Scott.
recommendation. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Mr.
discussion?
Niedermeyer, for applying.
Any other discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Evans,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Terrell? Yes. Bergeron?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Mr. Niedermeyer.
You gotta come back. You have another one.
Move that the Board of Education employ Carla Seal as an assistant principal for Romulus High School with a start date effective November 29, 2022, for the board consideration to fill open position at Romulus High School, budget implications, general fund, exhibits, confidential employment contract, and resume.
Support.
Who was that? Was that Wester?
Wester.
Motion was made by Ebbets, supported by Wester. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Evans,
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Bergeron?
Yes.
Piles, yes. Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations to Mr. Niedermeyer and to Ms. Seal. Thank you so much and welcome aboard. Be a part of the team. Let's move our district forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Niedermeyer.
Do you want to say something?
I'm trying to get there. Thank you.
I thought she was a assistant principal.
Report of the finance director,
The way she was shaking her head at Paul, going, no way.
Ms. Freer. Toby, you can come forward. Thank you.
Sorry.
Good evening.
That's funny.
I'll try to go quick. I know you guys, we still have a closed session on the agenda. So real briefly, there is a 2-page contract. I don't need to put my lips on it. There's a 2-page contract in here to extend MGMI services through Mark Graham. Mark joined us, I don't think it's been quite 6 months, maybe around there, and really, I want to say saved us, but we were in pretty rough shape with our federal grants when we arrived. Mark has provided all of our federal and state help with our consolidated application, Titles 1, 2, 3, and 4, ESSERS 1 through 3, IDEA through RISA, in addition to at-risk and other GSRP state-funded grants. So he's a phenomenal expert in grants, and we desperately need him right now. This is a 6-month extension, and he, I think he listed his scope here and basic responsibilities. He's a crucial member of our business office right now, too. So that's on for your consideration tonight. And before you approve, I also just wanted to remind the board, we have right now tentatively scheduled our audit presentation and budget amendment for January 9th, that first board meeting in January. So that's all I have from the finance department. Happy to entertain any questions.
Can we have a motion read, please? Sorry. Thank you.
Move that the Board of Education approves the contract for continuation of services with MGMI Services for a state and federal grants compliance coordinator for a contract date of January 1 through June 30th, 2023, with a maximum of 510 hours for the duration of the contract. The rate is $125 an hour, and the total contract is $63,750. And the budget, this is being paid for with ESSER 3 funds.
Support.
Motion by Piles, supported by Ebbets. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. One of the proposal objectives is food service grants. I believe that the food service is supposed to be doing their own grants.
I won't argue with you on that one. The district has a responsibility, even through our vendor, to make sure that what we're submitting for claims and things are accurate. And so Mark has jumped in, similar to CTE and Perkins, and helped out where there hasn't been a body or the job wasn't done well enough that we needed to make sure it got done right. I think the goal is to ultimately shift all of that to them. It's just getting them up to speed and getting SFE.
Well, this is their second contract with us. How could they possibly not be up to speed?
It's a great question.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to request that we have a food service update. So,
Sure.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do a roll call vote, please.
Hiles, yes. Evans?
Yes,
Terrell?
Yes.
Bergeron?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Shelby. Report of any board subcommittees, please.
I just have one regarding the properties. Mr. McNally of Miller Johnson is working on the purchase agreement for Merriman. He's working in detail with Mr. Haver. We have shown Superior how many times, Mr. Garland?
In the last week,
4 times. They signed a waiver to access the building. And we showed Burton. We've shown Burton several times. And the vacant property on Beverly, Mr. Haver is contacting the people that had the initial offer on it to see if they are still interested in it.
the vacant property, I thought we were in an agreement.
Well, we were, but the date is close to expiring or has expired, and so he needs to revisit that. What I had was, let me see if I've got my notes here. No, I don't have when it was,
It's the former Hayti
property, right.
Trustee Evetson. I believe we even had some earnest money that was being held.
Oh, okay.
That they had put down, and it was supposed to have come to a conclusion. They were having some difficulty with the wetlands that are at the back of the property, I believe.
Okay,
So, yeah, maybe we should have Mr. Haver come and give us an update on properties. Maybe that would be good.
Sounds
And
good.
what we need to do to move forward to relieve the district of some of those issues.
all right, thank you.
She ain't looking this way.
Was that good? Mr. Bergeron, would you like to add to that, please?
Madam President, the mayor called me the other day and said that the people that want to buy the property on Beverly Road, it's non-compliant with the zoning. They need a M3 or MT2, and it's an M1, and they're going to have trouble with that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, why are you having the lawyers draft the purchase agreement when you got a real estate company working for us?
It should all go through the realtor, or through the
Through-
the
No,
attorneys.
you're right. It should go through the realtor, and then you take it to the lawyer. You don't pay a lawyer to do a document
That's
when you're
what's
paying.
happened, Mr. Bergeron. The purchase offer was presented to the attorney. The attorney has reviewed it, and it is not in good interest of the district. So he is working on the purchase agreement,
The lawyer is.
correct, which is what happens.
And how much are we paying the real estate person?
You know what?
I know, Sue, because you know what? It's not your money. Let's just spend it.
If we
You
can
have a
sell,
proper
if,
procedure to go through.
I agree, and it's happening.
It is not, because if a lawyer's drafting a document, the real estate company's supposed to draft the document. The real estate person, not the lawyer. So anyway, question on the motion.
Any other conversation?
There wasn't a motion.
There was no motion. Any other conversation or comments, please? Any other subcommittee comments? Okay, thank you. Report of the board president. We need to learn how to talk to each other. I know we're passionate. We need to keep our voices at a moderate tone, just so things are not taken out of context. We are here for the kids. As it relates to, we were questioning the insurance claim. Shelby sent me an email and stated that the claim was filed on October the 10th regarding Auxilio. She'll be sending them an email to get the status of that, and we'll get that information relayed back to us as soon as she gets it. There was a question posed a couple meetings ago when I first came on board as it related to an item being put on the agenda regarding embezzlement. And I said I would be looking into legal and getting with that. I have a statement from legal that I just want to just kind of read a couple things so that I do get back with questions as soon as I get I get them. Sometimes it takes a while, but we have to feedback. So this was dated November, I received this November 14th, so I didn't read it at the last meeting. Was asked to provide a statement in regards to the allegations of embezzlement involving a board member. So it was recommended, as you are aware from a previous attorney communication, that the district received information alleging that a board member falsified one or more reimbursements. This can be constituted as embezzlement under the Michigan Penal Code. Based on the information provided to the district, a review of the district financial records and interviews with witnesses, both the district attorney and our forensic auditor concluded it was more likely than not that embezzlement occurred. After consulting with district attorney and superintendent and based on the recommendation, I made the decision to turn the investigation over to the Romulus Police Department. The investigation is now in the hands of law enforcement and out of the hands of the district. This alleviates the need to force district attorneys and the superintendent to further investigate an individual who is technically their boss. By turning the investigation over to law enforcement, the district also eliminates any allegations that the investigation was in any way tainted by bias. I continue to believe that this is the best path forward. I'll provide you further information once we receive an update from RPD. So that's that in a nutshell. We leave it like that until anything else is brought forward. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It's always good to spend time with family and friends on good notes. We hear so much negativity. It's always good to be together on a positive note. I have nothing further, so we're going to go into communications from the board.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I have a question. Regarding the National School Board Conference, we received information from MASB and also from the county school board that offers to help provide financial support for this. It is, nobody on this board has been to one, but it has always been encouraged that board members attend the national conference. My question is, on October 5th, I had followed our procedure and emailed Ms. Gutzman, let her know that I'd like to attend and to register me. I followed up, I don't know, a few weeks later because I hadn't heard from her, and she said that my request had been forwarded to you, but I have not heard anything about why that process or what the status is. So we've missed the early registration discount, but, and the county board needs to know by the 15th for us applying for funds. So I just would appreciate an update on that.
I had asked Ms. Gutzman what the policy had been in the past as it relates to out-of-state conferences and things for boards. And as of right now, I had not heard of anyone, of us doing that. I think our monies right now, we've got a lot of conferences that are here in state to do that. That was my opinion before talking with anyone. Like I say, it's new, and I've talked to a couple people at a couple different other districts to see about that going on. We can check with Shelby in terms of financing and thinking that it's covered, but that was the rationale, because everyone was pushing it back and forth. We had never had this ever come to the table before.
Okay, so, and that's fine. It was the lack of communication that concerned me, because previously, as a new board member, when I was elected, that's something that our board members attended. Like I said, nobody currently sitting on the board has attended, but past board members attended at least once. And I was actually registered last year without incident, but I didn't go because COVID rates went back up. So, and that's fine, whatever the board decides, but again, for us to have a different process out of the blue and then no follow-up communication, that was my concern.
Duly noted. Communication for board members.
I would like to request a food service update by the food service organization. And Dr. Bloodsaw, you mentioned that Mr. Cook's position is the Success Lab. Do we have the Success Lab? Because I thought that contract was not renewed.
Let me double check. That was the position that I was told he had when he told me he sent them, so.
Okay.
Let me double check with that.
All right, and also, we received, as a board, we received an email from a security organization commenting that he felt that there were some needs for review of our security in the buildings. And I would just like to know where we stand with the security, the safety program that we had talked about putting in place, where we stand with review of everything that's going on with the safety. So I would like that, an update on that. And that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Evans. I just want to repeat, update from the food service.
Correct.
From the company. Update, Dr. Blessall's going to do it as it relates to the Success Lab
Correct.
position. And 3, update on security organization and the items that we're doing to enhance that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanted to be clear. Any other board member conversations? Vice President Terrell?
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Bergeron?
I do. Just positive points of pride since the last meeting. The sports awards banquet was really nice and very well attended by our student athletes' families. We had 16 of our football players lettered, which was phenomenal. So I just want to shout out to them. We also had cheerleaders who received their varsity letter, and I apologize, I don't remember the number, but it was a great event. Another thing I want to highlight is our students haven't had field trip opportunities since COVID and because of COVID. And Hale Creek will be taking a field trip on December 22nd to the Henry Ford Museum. The 2 third-grade classes from Hale Creek are going. And what is really neat about that, in addition to they're going on a field trip, is that Ms. Carter had applied for a scholarship, and it was awarded to Hale Creek. So all of the third graders, the teachers and chaperones will be able to have 100% of the admission covered, and they also provided a $300 grant to take care of transportation. And I was told that when the third grade classes were made aware that they were going to the field, on this field trip to the Henry Ford Museum at no cost to themselves, the words were to say they were excited is an understatement. So I'm very happy that our students will have this opportunity.
Thank you. Such good news going on with our students. I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session, please.
Move that the Board of Education go into closed session under the following section of the Open Meetings Act, Section 8C, Collective Bargaining Strategy /AFSCME, Local 64. In accordance with Michigan's Open Meeting Act, enacted in 1976 as Public Act 267, all closed meetings must be called by a motion at a public meeting of the Board of Education, followed by a roll call vote. The Board of Education will convene in closed session under Section 8C, Collective Bargaining Strategy. Budget implications are to be determined, if any. There are no exhibits at this time.
Is there support? This motion by Evitt, supported by Terrell. Roll call vote.
Evans,
Yes.
Terrell. Bergeron,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Wester.
Yes.
We are in closed session at 7:48 PM.
convene and goodbye.
Get a motion to reconvene.
Support?
Motion by Wester, supported by Piles. Can we get a roll call vote?
Wester?
Yes.
Piles, yes. Evans?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Bergeron?
Yes.
We are back in open session at 8:27 PM.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those
Have a good
opposed?
evening.
Oh, I wish we did.
8:27.
We getting there. We getting there.